From Washington, D.C., this is Mike Bako, Director of Sports Marcom for DS Simon Productions, coming to you from the PR News Media Relations Conference. And we're joined by John Schwartz of NASCAR. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
When you think about your core audience, you want to grow that core audience. Where is NASCAR going in 2014 in terms of growing that audience?
Well, we're focused on making sure our core product and our outreach efforts are interesting, engaging, and exciting for our core fans. That's very important to us. And we're also focusing on ways to bring in new fans, lowering the barrier for entry, and making our sport more appealing specifically to millennials, youth, and Hispanics.
When you're doing that, is there any danger in turning off some of the core audience that you've had for decades? NASCAR has a long tradition of a certain type of fan. When you're trying to reach out to those millennials or the Hispanic marketplace, what are you doing to keep that core audience?
Well, we have the best fans in the world, and they're the most loyal fans in the world, and they understand that the most important thing to them is the product on the track, and we're working very hard to improve that core product, make our racing closer, more exciting. I mean, we're known for side-by-side racing with contact.
Absolutely.
And we're working very hard on that. In fact, there's a test going on right now in Charlotte to improve the racing at our intermediate track. So that's what our fans get, the product, and that's why they come to the races. So we're working hard to improve it.
How much of your job is to not only foster the drivers and the sponsors that we already know, but also to identify up-and-coming drivers that might lead you into that next generation?
I think it's a huge part of our job. I mean, making our young drivers stars before they really are stars is what our job is. Helping our fans understand where they came from, what their interests are, who they are as a person. Trevor Bayne won the 2011 Daytona 500. 19-year-old kid, he was skateboarding in the morning, and quite frankly, he won the race, and no one really knew who he was. That's our job, to help our fans and our new fans and fans who maybe watch casually understand the stories behind these drivers, who they are as they're growing up through the ranks. So we have a program called NASCAR Next that does just that. Identified a number of young men and women who are the next stars of our sport. It's called NASCAR Next, and they're an inspiring, interesting, eclectic group of young people. We're really excited about it.
Let's talk a little bit about that NASCAR Next, brand journalism, creating that. What are some of the lessons that you've learned from doing that? What's worked, what hasn't worked? What are you going to look to take forward?
Brand journalism specific to our drivers?
To the NASCAR Next program, to your drivers, just to creating your own content to drive some of those storylines.
I mean, it's a really good question, because our drivers play a huge role in that, right? Our drivers are fueled by teams that are fueled by sponsorships, and sponsors want personalities, and they want drivers, by and large, to show their personalities, be good representatives of their brand. I'll share a funny story. I was moderating a panel at one of our events with a number of our NASCAR Next drivers, and they shared with me this anecdote of a young driver who was sponsored by a local organization, and he was joking with his fellow driver friends that he should take his victory. He'd won the race. He'd take his victory celebration, because he was so young, he was 16 or 17, to Chuck E. Cheese. So he literally, they filmed a Vine video of him at Chuck E. Cheese spraying Capri Sun juice boxes everywhere. I think his name was Eric Jones, and he just a fascinating stories about how these drivers really are creating their own. I'll give you another really good quick example. Our reigning NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, Jimmy Johnson, went out to Las Vegas to celebrate his sixth championship, and he and his team created a series of videos that parodied The Hangover. They lost the crew chief. They had a toast at the beginning of the night. They were just a really thoughtful, creative use of branded content.
So your drivers are almost showing you the pathway to what works and what audiences, where they're consuming this sort of content and where it's going viral to a certain degree.
Well, I think we're learning from each other, right? I mean, good ideas can come from everywhere. Part of our job as the sanctioning body of our sport is to lead our sport, to drive creative thinking, and to inspire the industry to activate. But many times our drivers and our teams come up with fantastic, thought-provoking content on their own that we can help amplify through our channels, which is what we do. So it's it relies heavily on a good synergistic relationship with the industry.
And NASCAR is certainly showing us that route, and they are the pace car moving forward for combining that. So we look forward to that in 2014. From DS Simon Productions Vlog Views, I'm Mike Bako.